uh, all honorable speakers, members of the faculty, and my dear students. It's a pleasure and privilege to be here and have a dialogue with you all. I'm not a manager, so I don't think I can easily manage my time and my experiences and thoughts and ideas, even idea of India, to be shared with you within 20 minutes. But still, while drawing a decade, I hope I will not get drowned into my experiences and memories, and will be able to draw a little bit of sketch of what it was in the last decade and what it can be in the next one. Friends, it was really struggle and struggle with various sections of our Indian population. That becomes a must if you are really committed to equity and justice. And these are the values which are in the very preamble of our Constitution. I don't know how far you feel committed to these two values as goals while managing your natural and human resources. If you think that only technology will solve a problem, that's your thinking. But our experience has been that as the world is becoming more and more technocratic, Rajiv Gandhi had said it once, that all my colleagues, I have now realized that we cannot change with technology. We have to go back to people and give power to them. So the struggle is basically not to empower, people are powerful, but to really disempower those who really go on towards inequity, which is vulgar, and injustice, which is intolerable. So when around 2007 to 2010, I remember, we were involved in many struggles. The Narmada struggle was already on. Today we have completed 36 years of struggle in the Narmada Valley. But it's not only for Narmada, it is Narmada Bachao, Mano Bachao. Because more than 50,000 families were to be uprooted and their natural environment was to be destroyed, along with social and cultural, and the project was not even planned when they started the work. As Justice Bharucha had said it clearly in his judgment, we had to really take up the battle from local to global. And that was a battle against how development planning really is becoming more and more unscientific and inhuman. First of all, what is the development paradigm that we have in mind? That really matters. If you think development is only growth and without justice it can be promoted, then you have a different vista. You have a vision of demolishing Sansad Bhavan and demolishing Rail Bhavan and everything and rebuilding and redeveloping everything with thousands of crores worth projects. But you don't have then money for putting 10,000 rupees in the banks of the domestic workers or the hawkers who have lost their jobs during pandemic. But it's not only during pandemic. It is on the whole, in the context of the present economy and polity of this country, that the inequity really is, in a way, promoting and allowing those who invest the monetary resources to take away the resources which are natural and human and exploit those or destroy those. And this is what the Narmada struggle has been for. When we have the rivers drying, when we have this big dam standing, but benefits not coming through, Kachcha has not got the canal network and the waters, the Saurashtra is having enormous problems, and thousands of people who are rehabilitated still do not have all the civic amenities. Although we could get 50,000 people resettled, but through 36 years long struggle, thanks to the judiciary and all those in the bureaucracy who helped us against all those who opposed us. And yet, महात्मा गांधी जी की प्रार्थना थी ना, कि ले जा सत्य की ओर. आज तो प्रार्थना चल रही है, ले जा असत्य की ओर. तो अभी on the day, Constitution Day, our great Prime Minister gave a speech before the judiciary with the CJI and all justices and said that Sardar Sarovar is an example where आंदोलन क्या करता है, हिंदी स्पीच था, चलिए हिंदी में बोलूंगी, वो पता चलता है और वो कैसे रोकते हैं और फिर जुडिशियरी भी हिचकिचाहट महसूस करती है जजमेंट देने में, पर जुडिशियरी ने हमारे पक्ष में जजमेंट्स क्यों दिए? प्रोजेक्ट आगे बढ़ाते हुए भी they said these are the conditions of social and environmental and that should be fulfilled before the project progresses. Now what is wrong in that? If that had not happened and if the struggle had not taken place, this would not have happened as it is happening in all other dams, that without even rehabilitation it is pushed and imposed displacement, deprivation and destitution on Dalits, Adivasis, farmers. Why are the farmers fighting today through the movement? Because only the electoral politics do not really respond to the real needs, priorities and demands of these sections who are considered as powerless and poor. No, they are not. They are rich in natural resources, they are rich in human resources, whether they are urban poor, farmers, farm laborers, cattle grazers. All that we all get as comforts and basic services come from them. They are the real producers, they are the real distributors, and we enjoy all the benefits, but we don't consider the real value or invaluable assets that they have and the contributions that they made. And this is what is questioned through the struggles of these sections of population, which are sometimes considered as urban Nakshal struggles, as anti-national and whatnot. But after so much of defamation, our farmers won the battle, and that had to be done because the law making itself is changing. It is not necessarily in the framework of the constitutional values and directive principles. If you go through the directive principles, you will find that Article 39C says that the economic development in this country should be such that the wealth should not be concentrated in the hands of a few. But that's exactly what is happening. The vulgar disparity, which is allowing a selective corporates to gain and earn 1,000 crores and more per day, is not permitting 1,000 rupees to be earned by those who take resort to the Manarega, the employment guarantee scheme, only for 100 days of a year. Friends, in our urban situation, if you see, this is what is happening. When they build the high-rise buildings, they have no house plot. And when they do not have a place to sleep at night with the children and the aged, they are considered as unauthorized, illegal, encroachers. Friends, they are the ones who build these castles. And they are the ones who serve in safai ho ya or serving food ho. But they are considered as legal voters, illegal encroachers. This is what is in conflict, and that leads to struggle. If the TEDx really wants us to convey the different ideas to you, then we would like the economy to be really based on equity and justice. And that can happen only if the sources, the real sources of livelihood are really saved. But this climate change cannot be just discussed in Paris, Copenhagen and Glasgow. Otherwise, the Greta Thunberg and Disha Ravi has already told us that what they say is blah, blah, blah. Because after Paris Convention, coal blocks are opened and privatized. There is no control over 60% of our energy coming from thermal power, so on and so forth. And the lifestyles are corporatized already. When education is corporatized, handful of our population can go to the real higher education. 35 lakhs was demanded by Pilani's Birla Institute from a boy whose father lost job in pandemic, and he had earned more than 83% of marks, but he had to take up MSc education, and I had to intervene to really stop taking that much money or demanding from him. This is not possible with individual welfareism or intervention. So it is known that corporatization really changes every sector. Even the choice of technology changes. If in the farming sector corporates come in, not only that, the PDS, the rationing will be lost because they will earn for profit, they will field for profit, and that farming will go into cash crops, not food crops. And if they will store, they will buy it at the cheapest cost and sell it at the highest cost. So many things are happening, and during last decades, we have fought with the urban poor when 75,000 houses were demolished, and we had to assert their right to stay and build the houses themselves. Anyway, they could build on the kacha houses for themselves. And then we saw them walking across the streets and highways during pandemic, 1,700 to 2,000 kilometers, and dying on the way without any mention on the official records to be presented before the parliament. So we had to fast on the border of Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh and make them, the government officials and policemen who were really treating them like ants and insects, to really put them in the vehicles so that they can reach Bahraich district of UP, starting from Mumbai or Pune. Friends, these kinds of interventions are a must. And if that has to take place, you know how to go about it. You have to start standing by. If you don't stand by, and if you're only on the WhatsApp, not WhatsApp, then you cannot realize what is happening, what's down. And if that needs to be understood, start with the slum dwellers and you will know how they survive, how they serve, but are not easily allowed to survive with their own culture, which is non-communal, secular, which is of helping hands, which is of learning, not only in the four walls of the classroom, but on the job training and so on. If they migrate, that is also compelled because of the disparity across the regions within the country. Why that? That is because the whole development paradigm, planning and implementation is thoroughly centralized. And when it comes from Delhi or beyond Delhi through Washington and all, then obviously no one really assesses the real value and importance of the resources around. And if that is assessed, then we know that much can happen within that unit of democracy. But if democracy is ground level, then there are a number of laws. There is PESA Act for the Adivasis. There is Article 243 of the Constitution you must read. We must compel our people's representatives to hold at least a Ward Sabha and a Gram Sabha once in 6 months. But that also is not happening. So this electoral politics is not for decentralized management of resources. And if all of you from whom we have a hope, I don't want to ignite a new hope, but you have it within yourself, which needs to be shared with the real needy population. And if that has to happen, every pillar of democracy should not have any political intervention, which acts like a white ant. We don't want that to happen. We don't want lawmaking in the process of no question hour in the parliament, and lawmaking is again favoring inequity and injustice. We want those 29 labor acts to survive. Otherwise, you may become a labor welfare officer, but even then you cannot really stop the employers by exploiting the workmen. And that is what is happening today. As a trade union, when we are working in various textile mills, we see how the textile magnates also change over to not employment generating industries, but capital generating industries. And profit over people becomes the principle in every decision that they take. So retrenchment to closure of mills and industries do not happen only in pandemic. It happens otherwise also. When the Constitution gives us the real agenda of cottage industries, small industries, up to medium industries, we can go. We need not go back to Hind Swaraj, but at least we have to go to employment generation. 1,53,000 workers have committed suicide during pandemic, and most of them are daily wage earners. But all the industries today have a great ambition to run those with the contract laborers, and these contracts are exploitative contracts. I can give you umpteen number of experiences of our work with the Safai Kamgar, with lowest cadres in the municipal corporations to the textile mills in Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and elsewhere. But friends, when the unorganized sector workers are really brought on the record, they are 95% of our working class population. In 2008, when we sat with the real participative approach-based minister, Oscar Fernandez, to draft that act that was started getting implemented in 2021, and Oscar Fernandez has left this world. Imagine what happens to those laws which favor towards equity and justice the real needy, exploited, oppressed sections. And if we raise this voice, we are bound to be in jail. If not today, tomorrow. I am in the queue. Doesn't matter. Adani's CEO had attacked me in the Sabarmati ashram. Doesn't matter. The court case goes on since 2002 to right till today. But no justice comes in so easily. And then when the Prime Minister tells our justices that, look, आई एम फ्रॉम गुजरात, मैं गुजरात से हूं, तो मैं सरदार सरोवर का उदाहरण लेकर आपको बताता हूं कि आंदोलन ने क्या किया और क्या होता है कि जजेस भी सही जजमेंट नहीं दे पाते हैं. They also face dilemmas and they hesitate. No offense, exactly the opposite has happened. Judges have favored to an extent and we could then take our battles ahead. But the war is still on to save nature, to save people, to save democracy, to save constitution. And that towards that end, if you all join these sections of population, then they may be registered, they may be given a few thousand rupees, but no, farmers want their sthan or samman. And that to be given needs to change our lifestyle also. Because otherwise, if we are also used to exploiting them through their production, their distribution, their contribution, but we do not care what is happening to them by the money, the capital flowing from the foreign countries, from international financial institutions, one of which is World Bank, whom we draw away from Narmada, but it is still there in many, many big dams, while the USA has demolished 1,000 large dams. I don't need to say what each technology brings. There are pros and cons, but the choice needs to be based on equity, justice, and sustainability. Now, when the Himalayan glaciers are melting, we also see the cyclones coming in, at least 5 in a decade. And hence, if the next decade we have to avoid it, as Greta Thunberg said, we cannot have just blah, blah, blah. We need to have a real choice, and that has to be alternative choice. Whether it is in water sector, there is decentralized technology, in energy, where renewable sources of energy are there, and we can have less and less energy intensive lifestyle economy, but for that, we need to stop violence. Violence in the name of caste and communal forces, certainly we have to say no, because it's not a statue that can bring in unity. We need solidarity, sensitivity, and sensibility. And hence, while we have to unite together, we also have to have a common minimum agenda. Whether parties have it with their alliance or not, we have to have a strong alliance of all those who are for equity and justice. So I'll just end my speech with 2 lines of a song that really questions us in our hearts every moment. एक हमारी, एक है उनकी, मुल्क में है आवाज़ें दो, अब तुम पर है कौन सी तुम, आवाज सुनो तुम क्या जानो, एक हमारी, एक है उनकी, वो कहते हैं भूले बिसरे, मंदिर मस्जिद याद करो, हम कहते हैं बेदर बेघर, इंसा को आबाद करो. जिंदाबाद.